In this lesson, I'd like to introduce the idea of things that you need to be thinking about as far as theming your apps are concerned. Now, it's very easy to think that it's just about color, but it may be about a lot more things than just color. But you need to be thinking about these at quite an early stage, because you may need to go back to the organization and say, hey, have you thought about this in such to give them enough time so they can actually come back to you so that you can keep working effectively. And it's important to actually think about these at a very early stage. It doesn't feel like it, but it will hold you back if you then need to rewrite things to deal with this. So the first thing to think about are corporate colors. Now, it's nice to have corporate colors, but they do need to be accessible. And there are instances where sometimes they aren't particularly accessible. If you've got a lot of red on the screen, is that really what you want the user experience to be? Because it's not really generally associated with typically a warning, and then how do you actually then show warnings, because you might have used red already. So you'll need to think about how it is you tastefully apply your theming, and it could be, as well as corporate colors and logos and so on, that they actually have ideas around how this might work. There might even be departmental colors. So you might have gone down one route to go down the corporate color route, and it turns out that you're actually building it for a department, and it's not going to work for them. And you could even take it further to say, well, actually, I could make it fire up in a different way for different departments. I'm not sure if I'd go down that route. I think that it feels a little bit overcomplicated, but it's something that would be possible. You can think about things like button shapes. You'd be very surprised that this is actually important. And by that, I mean, sometimes people will say, well, actually, I want it to be rounded in a particular way. Some people will use buttons and actually say, well, actually, no, all of my buttons are not going to have any rounding, but they're always going to be this color. And it's really all about consistency. How are you going to ensure that this is consistently delivered, not just in this app, but it's going to be relevant to all of your apps in the future? So make sure that you take this one to heart. And there's also things like around drop-downs versus combo boxes. Combo boxes are actually quite useful, but they've all got different sort of niggles to them. Certainly, combo boxes are certainly more interesting to use, in terms of filtering things down and so on. But they're a little bit more complex to use as well. Drop-downs, they always have a value in them, and so you can end up with issues to do with what this selected item is as well. So do be careful with that. But it can be really strange when you're using drop downs and combo boxes, because people then sort of assume that they've got a search option in a drop down, whereas they actually only have it in a combo box. So do be careful with how you with whether or not you actually use both at the same time. And the same goes for actually checkboxes and toggles, because they really both are on-off type values that come out. You get a true false value that comes out, but really, do you want to have a toggle, or do you want to have a checkbox? And the thing with toggles is that what you find is that you've then got to change the true text and the false text, whereas with a checkbox, they're pretty obvious what they actually do, but toggles do look a little bit nicer as well. So there's an interesting conversation to be had on that. The other thought is around icon libraries. Now, the library that you have available to you in Power Apps is good, but it's kind of limited as well. And it may be that your organization has like a library of icons that they use. Do be aware, though, that these will only be images. You'll need to, if you do want to use different icons, or essentially images, you'll need to make sure that you're actually putting something in front of that image, so that when someone hovers over it, they actually get the ability to actually click on something, because no one will really be expecting to click on an image unless it kind of comes up that way. And then there's finally is the point about where are you going to store your themes. Now, you can do it lots of different ways. You can actually store it within the app. It's perfectly normal to do that. In fact, a lot of people don't have themes, so they don't store it anywhere at all. So quite often people will store it inside the app, but you might also consider that you might want actually to have a data set, and that data set that stores your themes. But all of those things have an impact on how quickly you can bring your app into production, and whether or not that's actually valuable time spent as far as building your solution is concerned. But you can see you need to get into it quite early in order to be successful with this. I hope you found these thoughts on theming interesting and have got you thinking about how it might impact on building a business app. And do let me know if you've got any comments down below. Thanks very much.